I have a fun card today to show you. It is not a beginner stamper card. I'm going to say that right off the start, but it is one that we are going to do at my camp on Friday and Saturday of this week. And if you are in the Indianapolis area and you ever want to come to camp, you can be a demonstrator. I have people ask me that all the time. You can be a demonstrator. You just pay the camp fee and you can come. That's fine. But it's not a beginner card. It's not a hard card. There's just a few steps. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks of using the Lily stamp set. It's a distinctive, and it is also a photopolymer that has a die. And it's a long skinny one. So there's a couple of tips and tricks to use it. So I'm going to show you those. But first, before I show you that card, I'm going to show you March camp's always a big one. Often because it's the last camp before we leave, because my daughter played golf, and so we often had college golf tournaments to go to, or the last couple of years we've taken trips, so I've left like right before celebration's been over. This year I'm gonna be here the whole month, but there's so many celebration things that I want to show you at camp that I'm gonna supersize it. So normally we do 6 projects. This month we are going to do 8, and I have only 3 done. I have several that I can pick from of what I've done, previous videos that you may have seen. Some I have not recorded yet, but I have to pick them, and then I have to also figure out how much time they're going to take. And the one I'm going to show you today takes a little bit more time. So the first one that we're going to do, this video is posted, and this uses the Call Me Cupcake. So I have a St. Patrick's Day version and then just a birthday version. So that's the first one, and this video is up. And then the next one I know that we're going to do for sure uses the So Hoppy. Knew I'd get that. And it has a little bit of movement to this one. It's got a little bit of a spring that the girls are going to make this spring. And it has an inside. And I'm actually going to film this one, I hope today, as well as the one I'm filming now. So we'll get 2 for 1 in today so I can start creating the rest of today's project. So those are the 2 that I have. And I also wanted to tell you, I know a lot of demonstrators watch my videos, and there are 2 other girls in my group. We have a demonstrator online meeting once a week, and it's called Creating and Sharing the Life You Love, long title, on Facebook. And you can also find it, the public group of it, if you do at Friends to Stamp on Facebook, and that will get you then the link to, it's a little bit easier to find, but I will put it down underneath this video. And in April we're having a big demonstrator group, so it's actually the same day as On Stage. We're calling it In Stage because Indiana, so it is in Indianapolis, or a little town outside of Indianapolis called Mooresville. So if you are interested in doing that, there is a live version here, and then we're also going to do a home stage if you can't come but you want to join us via video. So I've got both of those, and I will put the information for that down below this video. So let's get started on today's card. Aim you down, close your eyes if it makes you feel nauseous when I do this. And let me see if I can get you in the video. There we go. So I am going to use the Lasting Lily, and it also has framelits. Let me see if I have the sleeve here. Oh, well, you know, it's not a tricky name. It's the Lily Framelit dies. And they don't do anything spectacular. They cut out the pieces. And then there are 2 little, I'm not using them on the card, so there's 2 little frames that you could use on lots of different cards that will cut out the words. But I'm not using those on these cards because the card I ended up making is actually inspired by my wedding invitation. It ended up looking nothing like my wedding invitation, but we used our wedding invitations a million trillion years ago, did have lilies on them. And my one of our groomsmen happened to post them on Facebook. Leave it to a groomsman to post your video, a copy of your invitation. I don't even know where he got it from. I don't even know if I could find one of ours, but he did it. And it was all vanilla, and it was embossed. Maybe it has some hints of gold. So I thought about it, but this stamp set's actually distinctive. So if you emboss it, you kind of lose the pretty that is the distinctive. So the first tips I'm going to show you are using it because it's distinctive. So we're going to go with the lily first, and it's pretty much as is. So you take your stamps off, you stamp it as is. And I'm using Petal Pink, which if you use a Distinktive stamp set and you really, really, really want to see the Distinktive, then I would recommend using a darker color. But these are lilies, and it's hopefully going to be spring soon. So I was inspired first. Well, at the end I'll show you where I got my color inspiration. And I didn't end up using where I started. This card had a couple of, I don't know, prototypes before I ended up where I liked it. So I've inked my stamp, and then you're gonna press down and press up. Don't hold it for a super long time. Don't rock it, just press down and press up. And when you do that, then you get the nice distinctive look. I did learn, because I messed with the card longer and longer, that the stamp will need to be cleaned. If you keep going and going and going because you don't like the color, or you like the color and you just kept going. I didn't like my card, so I made one card, and I will show you the one that I didn't care for as much. So I made maybe 3 cards before I ended up with the one that I did, and by after I'd stamped it for a long time, I realized that the more ink this got on it, then the less distinctive I was getting. So you do need to clean it. I could probably stamp it 2 or 3 more times, but you need to clean it. And you can't, if you are a baby white person, then you're gonna get little fibers on here, and you're gonna lose the pretty that is the distinctive, because those little fibers are gonna stick on there. And I think even our Stampin' Scrub can leave some little fibers. So the chamois is the best way to clean it. So just keep it clean in between, and that will help from the buildup of ink, because you don't want all the extra ink on there, because then you lose your super, super fine imagery in this stamp. Like, I don't know if the light will really show you. I don't have my studio lights on today because it is sunny. But there's like a line here, there's little lines, there's white there. I'll hold it there for a second so you can kind of see it. You lose all that, the more and more ink that just builds up. And I've only used it with the Petal Pink, because this is the first time I've used the stamp set. So normally at camp, I tell the girls not to clean the stamps if we are going to keep using the same color. But this time I'm gonna make them clean them. Because I don't want the 5th person that makes their card to have a big blob, which was what was happening to me, because I thought, how the heck? I thought it was because I was getting tired. And so then I thought about changing colors, and when I cleaned it, I realized that was what made the difference. So then I do have my Petal Pink blends, and if you feel like you didn't get a great stamp with it, you can, there's this line right here, and on some of mine I took the tiny, tiny tip and I didn't draw, I kind of dotted, and I got some of it back, but I feel like these stamped pretty well, so I'm going to leave them as is. And then I have my light daffodil, and there's this, we did a live yesterday with my girls on our demonstrator site, and I made this card. I didn't make the whole thing. I don't remember what this thing's called. You know, the middle of the flower. But I'm just going to highlight it. And then on this stamp, you can see that it's like hidden by that fold over part of the petal. And then it does some more stuff down at the bottom. But ours is going to get covered up in a second by the stem that I'm going to put on it, because I'm using the dies. If you weren't using the dies, you would want to color it down there a little bit better than I'm going to. But just color over this. You don't want to press forever, because you know blends can bleed. And it does mix a tiny bit with the Petal Pink, but it doesn't matter so much because both of these are light colors. And it just gives it a pale bit of orange, but it mostly stays yellow. And then you can set that aside to dry if you want, and then go back after you've done your leaves and add a touch more yellow, which I might do that. So we'll move this. Now, the other thing that I have seen online is people say that either their stamps don't work or their dies don't work. Like, they think that either their dies are broken or their stamps are broken. I'm going to move this so you can see. Oh, the other thing is when you're stamping with this, you have to use a spongy surface. So get one of these. If you don't have one of these, you need one. I don't even know what they're called. I'll put it below. I've had them forever. I have a ton of them. I don't care if they get dirty, but they do make your photopolymer stamps stamp better. Often on my videos, I don't, because I like my white table, and I think you can see better. But for that stamp, I tried it on my white table to see if I would be able to film, and it doesn't work at all, so don't try it. But what you need to do with these, because these are long and they're flexible, what people do is they put their stamp on here like this, and then they go to stamp it. Let's see if I have a piece of scrap paper laying here. I should have put a piece of scrap. Oh, here's one. Here's one where my flowers didn't stamp so well. They're not horrible, but you can see this was when I was starting to lose the white. Like there's light here, and I was starting to lose it because I'd stamped so many times, so I gave up on those. That was when I was stamping forever and forever and forever. So the second color I'm working with is Pear Pizzazz. So people lay these on here, and they stamp with them. And then online, they post a picture and they say, my stamps are broken or my dies are broken, because they go to line this up. And here's the picture they post, and they say, see, something's broken. And people are like, well, call Stampin' Up! And they'll give you a new stamp set, because they do stand behind their products. And you can see that's not going to cut that out. Well, here's what happens, is because these are so flexible. Let me clean this off so I don't get my hands dirty. They're so flexible that when you go to lay them down, and you just lay them down, you're not paying attention, and you move them a little bit, and when you move them, they've totally lost the shape that they're supposed to be. So you have, when you lay them down, first of all, just kind of drop it, and so that way it holds more of its shape. And then take your die, and at camp they won't have to do this because I will have placed them all on there the way. So you can see it's not on there all the way straight to go for the die. So what you want to do is use this as a reverse mask. So just put your die on there and make sure that it fits directly over. So you can see now my die is lined up exactly where it needs to be, so it's going to fit when I run that through. So you want to do that with all of your stems and your leaves. Any of the photopolymer that are long, the red rubber doesn't tend to do it because it holds its shape better. And these don't tend to do it because they're wide and they don't move. This one might move a tiny bit, but not much, because there's more width to it, so they don't bend. But these long skinny ones, they're infamous for doing it. So just make sure you can use that as a die, and now once it's on, it's good. So let me show you that. When I did it on the live the other day, yesterday, I did a bad one, and then when I cut them out to go run them through the die, I brought my bad one, and I thought, why the heck is this not working? But then I realized I had my bad one. So you have this, and you can see the difference of when you just lay it and you're not being careful. It goes way cattywampus. So now when I lay this on here, it's going to be just perfect. So I do that with that one, and then let's see, where did I put my other ones? This stamp set comes with 2 stems and 1 leaf. So I'm gonna wipe this off over here so I don't get my hands dirty. It's not good changing, and at camp I'll just put these on extra blocks, but I haven't done that yet. So again, you can see if you are not paying attention, it's so easy to just offset it a fraction. So I'm just going to lay this on here and let it kind of fall, and then take my die, just put my die over it. And then when my die's over it, then you can press your stamp down. If you don't press it down before you put your die there, it's easier to move it. So there we go. It's kind of like what I do with my punches when I use my punches, like punch a punch first and then use the reverse punch for a mask. So now we've got that one. And the stems are distinctive, but not so much. So there's really no tip or trick. And especially on my card, the way I have it, there's not, they're mostly gonna get covered up by ribbon. And they mostly just stamp. This is the one that I've seen most people, because see, it's got this little give here. And I think it's really easy when you lay it down on your block to make it go not the way it's supposed to go. So again, you just want to kind of drop it, because when you drop it, it kind of holds its shape the best. Don't press it down, because once you've pressed it, then it's harder to move it. Take this little thing, just kind of shove it, and then it fits right on top of there like that. And then it's going to be perfect. And then I need 3 of these for my card. So I'm going to stamp it 3. This is the most distinctive. The other 2 are really, and you can see that does have some pretty distinctive, which if you were doing a card that just had 1 flower, but I'm making a bouquet. Oh, it's kind of crappy. But I need one that's going to be all the way behind, so I'll just use that. So there we go. So now I'm going to pull my big shot up here. Didn't end up needing those. Before I do that, I am going to give these one more shot with my blend. You can see it's faded as it dries. And this time I'm going to kind of just go in the middle so it has a little bit of shading. There we go. And I also have, when I did my original card, the color was all based off of wanting to use the laser cut specialty paper that is in the Occasions catalog, and it's beautiful. But we've already used it at camp, and I've already used it a couple of times to make videos, so I'm running low on the pieces that were already like the smaller size pieces. So I attempted to cut the 12 by 12 piece and get it as a background piece, and I'll show you. My girlfriends told me it's not as hideous as I think it is. It wasn't in my head, and I messed with it. You know, sometimes you just mess with it for so long that it is no longer making you happy and you find no joy in the card. So that's what happened with my original card. So I already had my lily bouquet, which I was pleased with at that point. So I just went over, and this is the Vellum that's out of the Floral Romance paper, and it happened to be the same color. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to add some adhesive right here in the middle, because I know that's where it will get covered up. Because I'm also going to run this through the Big Shot. That's why I'm doing it now. So everything Big Shot's ready. And there's a glob of that, but it's okay because it's going to get covered up later when I put my lilies there. And it's enough now to hold that in place. So let's get the Big Shot up here. See, I told you that it's not, like, the card's not hard. There's just some steps. Now that you know how to mount those, that step's done. Now that you know how to stamp with the distinctives on these, and not to, oops, play dominoes with my blocks, and not to, I think one of the biggest problems people have with the distinctive is that people that haven't bought a chamois and clean with wet wipes still, don't clean with wet wipes. Baby wipes are meant for baby's bottoms, not for your stamps. Because they have all those fibers and they stick to them, especially the photopolymer, because you know the photopolymer are a little sticky. And when you put the wet wipes on them, especially on these distinctives, and you have trace amounts of those little fibers, then it's just interfering with how pretty your stamp should be. And you're stamping fibers and not stamping pretty distinctive lines. Let's see how many of these I can fit on at once. The other reason this card takes a fraction longer is because we only have one of the leaf and I need to run it through 3 times. Let's see, I think I can get these on. The nice thing is, and you can see now they fit perfectly, so I don't need to call Stampin' Up! And tell them my stamps are defective, because they are not. Just be careful when you lay this down, because that's when they do sometimes move. And then once you have them down, then hold tight as it rolls through, because again, your plates can move all the way up until you get that last little bit in there, because it can always squish them over. You could use your magnetic plate, and maybe if I was stamping just for me, I would. But what would happen at camp is by the time the last person gets to it, the plates, even if I put brand new plates, they get a little warped because everybody's cutting the same thing. And you can see how perfect all of these are now. Put this back on. And it just takes one cut because they're just a framelit. You don't need to go back and forth. There's no flipping upside down, just one cut. At any time it's a framelit and it's just doing an outside, see, it's perfect. Perfect is what we like. Except the one I stamped bad, it won't be quite so perfect. That one's done. Do this one now. And I'll do this one, and then I'll have to come back and get the one last pass of my leaf. I tried doing it so I only needed 2 leaves and getting another stem, but this part doesn't look pretty. You'll see what I mean when I put the bouquet together. My hands are freezing. It's like 8 degrees outside, and my house has a hard time getting warm. And I have a hard time staying warm. Oh, that one moved. They both moved. As much as I hate humidity, I'm ready for a tiny bit of humidity to be back in our house. So I don't have all the static electricity. That one moved again, but I'm gonna go with it. It's stamped poorly and it's gonna be cut a little crooked, but it's my background piece, which if I was doing the card the first time, I might think that, oh, it didn't do too bad, but it's gonna get mostly hidden. It's actually going to be my 3rd stem. So my flowers are done. And then I just need one more of these. And again, it's partly because of the static electricity in our house, because if I lift that up, it just grabs the paper. So just hold your plates tight as they go through. And then you really don't need to have the magnetic plate. See, it's sticking to that. It just pulls right down. It's pulling back over here. Okay, so that's the cutting. And then I'm going to take my vellum piece. And my favorite embossing folder, which normally it doesn't matter one way or the other which way you put it, but the Stampin' Up's, anytime it says Stampin' Up, that's the top. So I'm going to run this through, and it's going to help, it's going to give a little bit of texture to the paper, and it's also going to hold them together a little bit better. So we had a discussion yesterday. Some of us run, our girlfriend calls it topless. She runs it topless through. And you can see it folds it up. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to put it this way. And it makes it look a little bit more like fabric. Because it's already the vellum with that pattern. But she runs hers through like this. And she calls it topless. I tend to do mine bottomless. Get it open. My hands are stuck. There we go. And now you can see it gives it like a fabric feel. And then when I stick it on here, I'm going to add a couple of glue dots just to keep it down. As it sits and rests, it kind of doesn't roll up as much. So you can be a topless or a bottomless. It's just to remember that you need one plate, but I tend to put mine on top. Okay, now we just need to assemble this guy. So we have this, and it's going to use a lot of glue dots. So I'm going to go ahead and put one glue dot here, just so it can start to sit down on itself. And one glue dot up here. And then I might need some in the corners in a second. Now to build your bouquet, it's going to be all done with glue dots. And you have 2 stems. So this one, what I did was I picked my prettiest flower of these 2, which is this one, which is probably the one I stamped first because it has more white space. So these two are going to be my things that are on top. So they both get a stem. So just add your stems to these. Again, this is not a hard card, and it's part of the reason why when I need to figure out the rest of my camp projects that a couple of them need to be a little on the quicker side. Although they can always take this home and do this part later if they choose to. And then these two get stuck together. And then what I do is sometimes, you know, these move. So if you have one stem that didn't cut as well as the other, then put that one on the bottom. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom because it has a little bit more white space. Except the glue dot stuck to my finger. I don't press terribly hard with any of the glue dots. Right now it's kind of just holding it all in place. If you press too hard, and it would be hard to move them if you need to. And the reason I'm using glue dots is because you can move them. So right now I'm just kind of building it, and I want to be able to move it and shape it how I want my bouquet to look. So I'm going to stick a glue dot behind this flower, and you could do it behind either one. Because then this is going to be the flower that goes behind. Like that. It's eventually going to get more adhesive when I stick it onto the card. And stick one up here. Okay, now you see there's this white space here, and I didn't want this part up here. So here's, I think this is my bad leaf. Yeah. So what I did was I used this part for a stem, which also then gave me a leaf that was going out to the other way. And just kind of mess with it so it goes how you want it to be. You can kind of mess with it back and forth according to how these are going. And I did end up trimming it on one and not on the other. So I think I'll go like this. My glue dots are stuck to me. So I'm just going to put the glue dot back here, because then it just keeps sticking to me. You can kind of angle this to be where you want. And then I just have two more leaves to add. And again, pick the one that looks the best. And it goes on top. So these both stamped pretty well and cut pretty well. So I'll just put one higher and one lower. And the other thing is because you don't have it on your card yet, it may be like too big or too wide, but because they're glue dots, you'll be able to kind of smush it or smack it down a little bit smaller if you need to. So see, it's held together. It's not perfect, like it would fall apart if you would move it a lot, but it's held together enough. And mine fits pretty good. I'm just gonna aim these up a tiny bit. And of course my card's a 1/4 inch smaller all the way around, so I can go a little bit smaller than that. So now just gently flip it over. And this you can't do with fuse if you still use fuse, because it pulls on it and you don't want it to tear your stuff off. Just make sure you get every bit, like every leaf, every stem, every flower has a little bit of adhesive now. I'm gonna flip this back over, put it on your card, and then I'll get all those bits that are standing up in a second. Now I've got, oh, I didn't open this because you know I've used up all of my tulle ribbon. And this, because I made this to be a wedding card, I want lots of tulle on here. And this is the vanilla. It still has tape on the end, so I'm just going to cut that off instead of mess with it on camera. So I'm going to do like a really, really long section. Maybe that long. You know, it's just a guess. A lot of people don't know that it comes in white and vanilla, but it does. So I've got this, and it's this long, however that long is. And then this is the Pear Pizzazz satin ribbon. Is that what it's? Is it satin? Shimmer ribbon. And it doesn't have to be as long, but it needs to be pretty long. Again, it's a wedding card, so the texture of the vellum and the tulle and the shimmer ribbon, it makes a really pretty card. So I want this, because it's not as long as my tulle, to go in the middle. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of put that there for a second. And then you start over here on this end, and this is gonna leave you some whopping huge loops. So I'm gonna tie a bow here, and the loops are gonna be ginormous. But that's what we want. We want 2 ginormous loops. But I need to have this stay here. So what I do is I hold that on the table now so it doesn't move. I hope you can see this. So I have this piece over here that's going to wrap around the card, and that piece here that's going to wrap around the card. Hold that there. So there we go. So I'm going to make this tight. And then I'm just going to tie a knot right here. Which this, when it touches itself, it does pull. I've had this ribbon for a year, and I've used so much of it that I do feel like a little bit of an expert with it, and I will be so sad if it doesn't make it into the next catalog that comes out in June. So there we go. Now you can tie this around now, or you can wrap it around your card, either way. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this around my card. I want it to go kind of through the middle of my flower. Pull these bows up. And kind of separate these because you've got 2 of them, and it gives you some more texture on your card. Flip this over. The other one's not going to go around the back, the green, because I liked the bow effect on the top of it. Make sure I have this is actually bow. Okay. Now, just to make sure that I keep all this, I'm going to go ahead and stick it to my card, which I found was easier to do on this card. Usually I stick it to the panel because I know I've got to the edges. But on this one, I found it was easier to do this way. And just get it on here and then press it down. Now it's all on there, and you're not gonna, I'm gonna double this over. That's why I needed a lot of it. And a lot of times on my wedding cards, I tend to be a little old-fashioned, and we take our wedding gifts to the wedding if we're going. Like if it's not out of town or overseas or something. And so when I take the gift, I wrap the gift pretty, and then I put my card on the outside as part of the decoration. So with this, I would try to find a wrapping paper that was one of the colors, probably just vanilla, because if you go find some shimmer pearly white paper and just keep it on stock, then you've always got something. Then when you put this on there, your package looks beautiful. And your card then doesn't need an envelope, so you can put as much ribbon on it as you want and not have to worry about it. So now I'm going to tie this into a bow. Which when you do this, you have to get this little knot to be as small as possible. And tie all this together at once. Stick that through there. The nice thing when you have the shimmer and the tulle together is the shimmer kind of stops the tulle from sticking on itself. And pull it nice and tight. There we go. And then you have to separate it all because you've got a lot of ribbon in here. The other thing this bow does is it covers up where all of your leaves were kind of, and your stems were kind of a hot mess. And it makes a pretty bow there instead. So just take this, lift it all out, and see, you might have thought I had a ton of ribbon, but if your ribbon was any shorter, you're not going to get, I mean, this doesn't, it no longer looks like a ton of ribbon. It looks pretty and all fluffy. But if you go any less than that, you wouldn't have had enough to tie this. In fact, it could have been a little bit longer on both of them. So just get it all separated and arranged. And then you can also, if you want to, if your ribbon's not sitting pretty, you can use glue dots, but usually you can mess with it long enough that you can get it to be how you want it to be. And you also want to make sure this, because the tulle sticks on itself, that it's all opened up. So I'll mess with this, and then when you go to my website, you can see the finished one with the bow all pretty. And then you stick those down. Then I have a Wink of Stella, which also helps kind of accent some of the Distinktive, because I did it just a tiny bit on some of the darker parts of it. But you don't need to do it first before you stick it all together. I knew one of these didn't have as much as the other because, you know, I use them for brushes, but neither of these have washi tape, which is my sign that they're gone. But you can see just that little bit of Stella highlights the darker part. But if you do this before, you would have wasted it on all those parts of your stem and parts of flowers that you may cover up. And we don't want to waste our Stella. So there you go. So I will show you, first I'll show you, this is the one that I attempted to do. And it has possibility, but it was late and I needed to come up with my thing for our Facebook Live as demonstrators that we do for our meeting. And I just wasn't able to get this to sit pretty, and I tried running it through the embossing folder to smack it together. It needs to have this line here to hold the pieces together, and it just wasn't doing it for me. So that was where I started. The bow wasn't as big, and you can see this bow looks, I think, more festive. Here's one where I've messed with the bow. So this is a finished one, and this doesn't actually have any glue dots because by the time I got done with this and then messed with these flowers stamped really pretty, and that was when I then kept stamping, and when I realized that the dirty stamps weren't stamping as pretty. So by the time I was done with this, I was ready for bed. It was late. Oh, well, there you go. Here's the two dies that go with it. I thought, what's on the back of that? These are the other two dies that come in the set. You know, when you take them out of the wrapper, they have that sticky on them. But this is just sat here, and as it sits, then this kind of like lays back down. This doesn't have any glue dots on it at all. So there you go. I hope you like this card. I hope that the lilies are free. It's a big set. It's got two because it's got so many words. So it's free with $100 purchase. It has great sympathy words, which is horrible to say. Sympathy cards are always our least favorite to make, but they're nice to make ahead of time. It has this splotchy stamp, which you could use on everything, and I didn't even use that. But it also, of course, makes great wedding cards. So it's a beautiful stamp set. I know some people are intimidated by it, so I hope with a couple of tips and tricks that I've made you want to give it a try. So I will post these on my website so you can see the pictures up close, and have a great day. Bye.